Good evening, you beautiful cucumbers. Welcome to TCB Studios. Welcome to Burn It Down Positive Party. Shout out to A&F Agriculture. Shout out to Kelly's Death Pickles. Shout out to our brother who was our guest last week, CJ Positive Peters. Shout out to DJ D Nice and DJ Meowski. Shout out to my partner in crime, Renee Yaworski. Let's bring this man up. Connected with him recently, and we instantly became brothers. An artist in every sense of the word. And I just want to dive in because he wears so many hats and he's so thoughtful and caring in what he does and generous with his time and his words and his talent. So let's get at it, y'all. Let's burn it down. Let's lift each other up. Bucket of fish, bucket of fish, bucket of fish. Jeremy Glass.
Hey, hello, Tom. What a nice
Good,
introduction. Thank you, man. It's good to see you.
good evening. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing very good. Really excited to be here. It's good to see your face.
Oh, same here, same here. And we were talking about this backstage, and we talk about this a lot. That sometimes the conversations we have in the virtual green room behind the scenes, that stuff should even be recorded because it's like the best intro ever, you know? And so you and I met not too long ago, but it seems like once in a while in life we get lucky and you just connect, and that we certainly did on many levels, certainly talking about art and our plans and our ideas and how we execute things, but and on many other intellectual levels. So I want to thank you for that, like I was talking about a minute
Thank you.
ago, with your generosity, with your talent and your time, but also just your words. And it's one of those things. We met and we started getting really, really close, and then next thing you know, I'm leaving the country, and it happened so quick. So I'm so glad that we could have you on tonight. In a minute, we'll bring Renee on, and I just want to dive into it because I know you have really good ideas and really good subjects, things that we could talk about and tackle.
Absolutely. And Tom, when I met you, it was like a brother from another planet, another mother, instant bond, and you had inspired me because I've been watching the Come On to My House and the BLT show, and
Yeah.
just loved how you projected and how you supported people. And
Oh my goodness. Well,
and then
thank you. That means so much. Yeah. Well, we met at the Heck House. I believe that was the first time, and it
yeah,
was with
it was
Lars and Diane, and I believe Denise.
Troy Moore was there.
Roy Moore, Johnny Thomas, Denise, and Cassie were with us, and it was a really beautiful spiritual evening. I remember even hearing the birds singing; just everything sounded so magical. And you came over, and we got immediately into just a wonderful conversation. And yes, it was an instant connection. And then from then on, of course, we talked and we talked about these things because you really are such a good, there's so many, like when I was talking about so many hats that you wear, because you've done so much for everyone at the Heck House when it comes to like filming and videography and producing and background, behind the scenes producing and directing. And all of it to me seems effortless and flawless. And I guess years of experience, either that or you're just really good at, faking it.
Probably a little of both, but some faking it for sure. But Heck House, I've been so fortunate to be involved over there. And when Paula opened the Heck House, and I thought this beautiful thing is happening, this person wants to create a safe space just to promote art. And I was like, how can I help? So I hung around long enough and bothered her long enough to where she said, okay, why don't you come and do some audio and this and that, some video. And but I love working with Paula and supporting her, and she supports me and all the beautiful
Shout out
people
to
that come
Paula
through there.
yeah, she's doing the Lord's work. I mean, it's absolutely amazing what you're doing. in that community itself, but then the whole art and music community within Atlanta. So shout out to Paula. There's so
Yes,
many
Paula.
things I
Hey,
want to
Paula.
tackle. Yeah, hey Paula. There's so many things I want to tackle because you've been producing other bands as well, and it seems like you have always had this wonderful ear for talent or hearing this thing and saying, "Wait a minute, I can do something with this." Because you started playing me some bands that you're working with, and it's like you basically were witnessing or saw like this diamond in the rough and said, "Wait a minute, I know we can do something with this."
Well, Tom, to be honest with you, I get more excited about helping. I could kind of consider myself a midwife of people's creative ideas, and my job is to help get that baby out and make sure it doesn't get damaged while it's
I
coming
love
out.
it.
I've known from experience that sometimes people come in and quote unquote produce, and they kind of really get put their ego on things. And
Right.
I've seen some beautiful singers and songwriters and bands, and something just in my head goes, "Wow, they've got something different." And um, approach them and ask, "Can I work with you?" Usually gratis, and
Right.
a lot of times they'll say, "What's wrong with this guy? Why is he trying to do this?" But then we start working together, and everything's a lot of fun. There's always passion involved. There's going to be some butting of heads because if there's not, then you probably aren't creating anything worthwhile.
Right.
It can be a
Yeah,
yes party, but
right, and passion is everything, or three quarters of it, because the execution will happen if everyone's a team player, and I love that. So it's like basically when you said you're like this midwife, I mean, basically you're telling them you actually could see this baby coming out. Maybe they don't see it yet. And you're like, listen, trust me, trust the process. I'm come along. I'll make coffee, but I'll also help you with some ideas, but we can make this thing happen.
exactly, Tom. Thank you for that. And speaking of passion, your music is pure
Oh,
passion. And watching you sing and what you deliver, you put 100% heart into everything. And so
thank you
you are
so much.
convincing every step of the way. And listening to your latest album, which is great, by the way, folks.
Thank you so
And
much.
can't hold on is probably my favorite still. I love the way it
Oh,
feels, but there's so much passion that you're conveying, and that's the easy. If somebody, an artist comes in and they sing with that much passion, and it's unbridled and it's genuine, it's sincere. That's the goods that you can't create anywhere. And so,
right,
hats off to you.
right. And
And
thank you so
go
much.
ahead.
And then that makes your job easier because you're basically saying you just proved when I came in here what was going to happen. You're making it happen.
Exactly, Tom. And I feel like that right now because there's so much music out there, and there's so
Hmm.
much good, competent music that really, if you want to stick out a little bit, you have to find what is you and amplify it. And even the
Right.
things that people told you not to do, the A&R guys, the producers, oh, don't do that so much. No, turn it all the way up because that's what makes you
Yeah,
stand out in this crowd right
I love
now.
that.
Is there's so much good music, but if you want to really stand out and be great at what you're doing, you have to kind of play your edges, I
Right.
think. And
Yeah. I mean, so much to be said for that. And the thing is it's like you have these gut feelings for a reason. We should trust them more. You know, the greatest
yes,
ideas and the greatest songs and the greatest themes, to albums over the years have been when someone's mentor or someone's father or someone in their band said don't do this, and someone goes, I'm sorry, I'm losing sleep over this, everything is telling me to do this, I need to at least see this through. If it doesn't work, that's fine, but everything is telling me to do this. And that's when you hear these pieces of magic, these little hints of like stardust and gold memories.
yeah. What if Joe Strummer had bowed down to pressure?
Oh my goodness, are you
Where
kidding
would
me?
we
Yeah.
be?
Yeah,
He just
unbelievable. Yeah,
refused. He stuck to his guns, and that's why his music is pure passion. And the Clash, of
unbelievable.
course, I'm a huge Mick Jones fan too. I love all
I
the
am as
Clash, but
well. As well, I'm wearing my Joe Strummer Niagara shirt tonight.
there
The
you go.
future is unwritten, and just enjoying everything right now. Seems to be where it's supposed to be, even in my personal life. and then having you on the show. And then we're going to bring on the lady of the hour, the badass, bucket of fish, drum roll.
Yay.
Let's bring on Renee Jaworski right now, 9:11 p.m.
Thank you.
Hey,
Hey,
Renee. How are
hey,
you?
I'm doing great. I was just checking out all the Instagram of Heck House, all the
Yes,
cool pictures that are up there, all the great stuff that's going down. So I encourage everybody to go to the Heck House and
yes,
check out their
yeah.
social media, their website, all kinds of cool stuff.
And Paula's doing the Lord's work. She's absolutely
Mhm.
right. And Jeremy helped out Sylvia doing
Mhm.
sound and running video for her poetry festival. I mean, Jeremy wears. It's Renee, you wear a lot of hats, so you'll relate to this. I mean, he's a musician, a songwriter, a poet, a
Mhm.
visionary, a filmmaker, a videographer, a producer, a director, and all of it, he's being humble, but also I
Mhm.
get what he's saying. He's saying, no, I'm like a midwife. He goes, everyone's doing the hard work. I'm just going to be here and help you deliver this thing. And
Mhm.
I think it's really humble to say that, but I also get what he's saying, which is what you and I have been saying for the past few weeks. It's like, stop, smell the roses, go with it, associate with good, positive, beautiful, creative, productive people,
Mhm.
and let's watch this grow together. Let's let it grow organically, and let's trust the process.
Absolutely. And I love that what I love about the Heck House and what I love, Jeremy, about what you're doing, what Tom's doing, is when we get behind art and we foster artists who are very sensitive people usually, and I think that society generally does not back artists in a material way. We all want to listen to
Yeah.
art and look at art, but we don't want to actually stand up and pay them for their art. We expect them
Right.
to work a 9 to 5, and then at the end of it, when they're exhausted, then deliver amazing entertainment and art for us. And I wanted to know, Jeremy, about your artistic journey. Like, what got you into art? Were you one of those
Great.
kids that was always kind of like an arty type kid? Did you have a tribe that you found in school? Like, what are your earliest memories of art, and why are you so connected and passionate about it?
Oh, Renee, by the way, thank you for having me. And it's an honor to be share this platform with you
Thank you.
because of all the things you do and the many
Thank you,
hats
Jeremy.
you wear and wear so well. Um,
Thank you.
I was a Beatles fan. I
Mm,
commandeered my sister's Abbey Road when I was 4, never gave it back, and stared at the turntable for days and days on end. And my parents were even worried about me. And then, I wanted to play the guitar and learned a little
mm,
bit and played Day Tripper in 6th grade at the talent show, had a band, and then just kind of kept rolling with it. And, I was fortunate enough to be in a household with parents who were educators. So they knew some things, but they were also very hip for their generation. They were into the Beatles, the band, classical music, Cat Stevens. We heard it all. And two sisters who influenced me as well. And I just became obsessed with the idea of making music, and did that. There was a great scene here in Emory Village when I was coming up, and then turned 18. We had the Dugout, which briefly was the only club in Atlanta when Atlanta pulled their little tax um, thing where they tried to shut down the Metroplex 680. And they successfully did for about 4 months. So Kevin Kinney and some other folks built a stage with us here at the Dugout where I was working, and the Indigo Girls came out of there too. Mr. Crow's Garden, which became the Black Crows, were there, and and I had a pretty successful band at the time, and then that kind of fizzled. Egos got in the way, and I got married and raised some children, and always kind of had my foot in the world of art and music and stayed in touch with folks, and just really started hitting it hard again about 12 years ago, and got a lot more interested in production. I'm still write music and play music and love that, but just became fascinated with the whole recording process because all of a sudden there it was in your hands, the whole on a computer. You could do everything, and if you learn how to use it, your imagination, you can do anything you want. If you want the
Oh
sound of
my goodness.
1,000 elephants going backwards screaming, you can do it. You just
mhm,
um, and I love it. And production and sound, I guess, creating sound pictures and trying to do a total effect where production makes sense with what's happening lyrically, and you're telling a story with it's supporting the words, because I usually, you know, do music that's or produce music that has lyrics as well. But anyway, that's a pretty long-winded answer, but yeah, that's the main thing. I just the Beatles had a lot to do with it, and I still love the Beatles. They're great.
Man, I love everything you just said, and we could do 4 episodes and break it
Yes,
down into
seriously.
phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, because I'm fascinated, you know, coming from punk rock and a new wave background in New York City. When I got here to Atlanta, 688 and the Metroplex were closed already, but I've heard about the legendary shows there. Iggy Pop right in the set list with a Sharpie on the wall, and it's staying there, you know. And then also the Dugout, and then certainly the Black Crows and the Indigo Girls. So much talent that you were right next to, that you had to been getting inspired by, like with your own band and everything. And I certainly understand about us. We take these sabbaticals, especially when it comes to, like, you know, marriage or raising a family, and then you're able to get back into it. But seriously, that's like 2 different episodes, and then you really touched on it when you said, like, when you look at things sonically, and when I hear songs, I close my eyes and I see the words painted on the sky right in front of me. And everything you just said totally just gave, we like to call TCB the braille. It's like my arm
Yeah.
hairs.
Yeah, and the feelings that, and both of you all are very accomplished musicians. And Renee, I've seen you play music on your shows, and I've listened to recorded music, and you have that effect of your songs are so strong in their themes and the feelings you can get across. And I mean, to me, that's just what music's all about. And Tom talked about the arm hairs going up. You just get this little tickle of like, okay, they're
amazing performer.
Thank you. That you're gonna make me cry. Seriously.
But there is something magical about her. Just this, you know, just this talking. I mean, she shout out Jesse Seipel and Rick Ammerman. I mean, it seems like the past few weeks, and they're certainly newer to the show, and they've both been guests. But they're like, man, there goes Renee dropping that worldly wisdom. And Renee, you're very spiritual, and it seems like whatever a guest talks about, we both relate to. But you kind of just paint this other angle, which I appreciate so much, and it really, really hits the nail like right on the head every time. Always.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I it's hard for me to accept those compliments, but I'm going to, because it honors both of you. Like, that means a lot to me, and I infuse that into my life, and I need that. And we need to build each other up. The thing about artists is, when I said earlier that artists are very sensitive, you know, we need a tribe, and we need to do that because we are the others. We're the others, you know. There are people on earth. There's a lot of them. There are billions of people on earth that really get up every day, and they're interested in other stuff. They want art and entertainment to be in the background. They want that to be the soundtrack for their life, but they're passionate about something else, you know, engineering or architecture or whatever. That's their passion. For us, we're the weirdos, right? And so we have to cling on to one another and support one another. Otherwise, we lose our way. We get very emotional. I don't know, like Jeremy, did you feel when you were growing up any of that? Did you feel like you were kind of weird?
Absolutely.
And like, how did you start connecting with other artists? Because that's a big part of it. Connecting with the Beatles is a big part of it. Even though you're not in the same room with them, that was a lifeline, right? Like for me, it was Lou Reed, you know, that's a lifeline to me.
Oh, awesome.
Like listening to Stephanie Says when I'm like 12, and I'm like, man, like this guy gets it. This guy gets me. He can read my soul. Or for other people, it's like Dylan or whatever. How did you start to meet people that you're in the same room with, that then you're collaborating with, and they get you? Like, when does that happen for you?
Well, 11 or 12 years old, me and my friends decided we were going to form a band, and they couldn't play a thing. And so we got one drum, and we got another guitar. And, you know, one of the guys dropped out, but I played with Charles, my bass player, for 20 years. And he is a monster musician, and he still plays. He's just not around. And yeah, definitely was kind of an outcast because, you know, I was a bad boy a little bit and played rock and roll, and, you know, did things like smoke cigarettes. But,
smoking in the boys' room.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
A little rock and roll, yeah.
But, you know, but I also was met some artist friends in high school that were doing kind of wild visual art. one guy I've got to mention is Timothy Patton. He's my partner in Pajama Garden. It's a band I play in. He showed me a lot about visual art and about kind of uncomfortable expressions of art, challenging people, and was always a supporter of me doing music. And then he started doing music about 10 years ago. He probably saved my life 3 or 4 times.
Oh my goodness!
Because when you don't play, when you don't play music, like I didn't for like 10 years, it's like you're sick. You know, there's something inside of you that's got to come out, and you become ill. And I had become ill in that way, and realized that I kind of have to do it. You know, and I know it's probably the same for both of you too. Can you imagine just not doing it, turning that off? After a while, you can pretend, but after a while, you just can't really function as you should.
Yeah. You were doing that with Gerard as well. Shout out to Gerard from a long time ago.
Gerard.
Oh man, what a very interesting, creative personality and talent.
I'm working on a track for Gerard right now. Yeah, I'm working on a track for Gerard that he sent me.
Gerard McHugh.
Gerard McHugh.
And shout out to Kim and Andy as well, because they really did. They really wound up being very instrumental in a lot of us meeting each other, you know. And I feel so lucky about all of that, you know. You said something that was really interesting. Well, everything you've said has been extremely interesting. But I've been really lucky already seeing talented musical friends of mine already since I've been in Puerto Rico. And I had lunch with a friend of mine who was in town last week, and next thing you know, we got into a very deep conversation and talking about the struggles, the ups and downs and all rounds of what we do. And at one point, we both looked at each other, and we both said, "We're talking about this like we have a choice. We absolutely have no choice. This is what we do. This is what we were put here to do." I've tried to not do it and walk away for whatever reason or not, and so have you. And it brings you back, and it's the only thing that provides me these fresh breaths of air that I need, that are vital. It's the only thing that gives me the solace that I need. So, and that's what I did even with this last record that I was working on with Everything Is New Again. And you know, the last few notes that we were talking about sending to folks, I just said, and this is rock and roll, and I'm going to do this until I die, because literally, you know, and I'm always nervous to use words like rock and roll, but literally that's what it is, and it's art, because just us having this conversation is art, you know. But it's the only thing that, as I'm doing it or even talking about it right now, is you're going to get 100% of me, and it will be very ethical. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's going to be the realest tea chest you've ever seen. And Renee, when she drops this worldly wisdom, that's when you see the realest Jaworski you've ever seen. And then Jeremy Glass, we just witnessed the realest Jeremy Glass.
Yeah, it's about being authentic. And that's the thing that the world is constantly trying to malign us and manipulate us and to fit us into these holes that don't necessarily apply to us. And it's so much easier to just go along with that. It's so much easier to just shed the artistic or creative self and to sort of just allow yourself to be pigeonholed, because it's a lot of fight. That's why it's so healthy to be around other artists, because when you're around other artists, they allow you to be to wave your freak flag. You've got to be, it's like, you know, Mama Cass saying, you know, that you've got to make your own kind of music. It'll be lonely, the loneliest kind of lonely. Now with the internet, we can all connect, which is like what this show does. We talk a lot about community, Jeremy, on this show, because a lot of the people who watch this show don't have inbuilt community in their lives. And so this might be the only hour out of their week, or their half hour of their week, or whatever, that they see and hear from people that really get it, that you have to be weird. You know, I think being weird is a human right. I think being authentic is a human right. You have to be able to foster that. And Jeremy, you said something really cool, because we had a guest named Molly on a different show on the network, and she was a pianist. But when she
Yeah.
was young, her parents didn't believe in her to go to music school, and she denied herself, and she said she had all these mental illnesses. She had depression, and then she tried to commit suicide because she was not
Oh my
connected to her
goodness.
authentic journey. And finally, her parents let her go to music school, and she was able to flourish. And she said, literally, if you don't tap into your purpose, you can die. You literally can
You'll die.
die.
It can kill
It'll
you.
it
It'll
will
kill
kill
you.
you. So you need to support the people around you. I think that if you
Mentally.
love somebody and you don't get it, like if someone's passionate about a purpose and you don't get it and you love them, let them do it. Even if it disconnects you for
Right.
a while, let them do it. Always support people with their passion and with their desires, because when you do that, you're supporting all of us, because it's about freedom, baby. You got to be free and you got
It
to be
is, yeah.
authentic.
And that goes into a really brilliant segue, which I love, Renee. Sometimes it's like, how many babies can you fit in the tire? You know what I'm saying? So first things first, when Jeremy and I, that's a quote from the movie Waiting for Guffman, which I still never understand it, but I love it. He goes, how many babies can you fit in the tire? He's wicked smart. But anyway, when I first met in person Mr. Jeremy Glass, he came up to me, and this has happened. It's probably happened to all of us. But I felt it in the eyes and the breathing and the words. But he literally was like, "Hey, man, I'm a fan. Thank you for what you've done." And I really didn't know what he meant at first. And he was talking about watching Lars and us do the BLT thing. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, oh, this is so-and-so. This is so-and-so. And I'm introducing people. And we sat down and stopped. And you're like, you want a drink? You want some candy? Like, we literally just started talking. We're like putting our hands in a bag. It was like we were at an outside drive-in movie theater or something. And we're outside the Heck House. And birds are flying. It's just getting dark. But we literally just connected. And it was like beautiful chills. And then you're like, I get you, I like you. And we both just admired each other. And you're like, you're a proper weirdo. You're a good proper weirdo. You're a proper freak. You're a proper freak. And I love that. And we have to allow ourselves to do that and forgive ourselves and let ourselves go and flourish. But Renee touched on these things, which she always does, which is so awesome. And what a great segue is. How do we deal with the anxiety and the depression that comes with all this stuff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well,
because we've talked about, you've opened up to me about this, my man. Right before I left town, that's what I'm saying. We wished we had more time to get together personally, because you were like, Tom, I've been there for you, you've been there for me. But it's a very real thing. And
it's depression,
if you feel like opening up, I would love it if you did.
Sure. Tom, I want to say something to you, Renee, and also to Andy and Kim. I had never seen anything like come out of my house. And what happened there, what you all did, was took a bad situation, which was the pandemic, and a lot of people were hurting. And you started lifting people up. And when I first met you, Tom, I've been watching these people perform, Lars Nagel, Diane, Troy, everybody who has done the show.
Troy and Diane
for a year on TV, basically on the computer. And so when I went to that show, I was starstruck because I was used to seeing these folks on TV. And it was not like, oh my, they're inapproachable. It was like, I feel like I know these people's art, and I've seen them grow because they grew so fast. Playing every week will do it to you. I mean, it's a routine. Playing in a live stream where there's no feedback. And I wanted to do, and still want to do, I want to do a documentary about how that all came about. I mean, tell it all, the personalities and everything. Start with the core people.
We are manifesting this right here tonight.
Yes.
You can do this. We will help you with that. That's amazing.
It is a beautiful story. And I know, like any story, has personalities, it has intrigue. We don't upplay the negativity. People are people, and artists are hard to deal with. But here I saw a bunch of artists lifting each other up, and Tom, you in particular, making sure that you are giving people ups and probably helping people get through the day sometimes when they're really depressed. And there's a big, you're awesome, or I love this new song. And that means so much to artists. If one person is responding, sometimes that's the difference, And then, I was in the hospital, Tom, in February, Tom and Renee, and had a scare and 14 days quarantine because I had COVID when I went in, which I didn't realize.
Oh, no.
And people like Tom and Diane kept up with me. online.
Yeah, I
How
remember
you doing,
reaching
brother?
out to you.
And so I decided to change some things about it.
It was
I
really
decided to
scary.
change some things. Yeah, it was scary as shit.
It was really, really scary, but you stayed positive the whole time, even when you didn't know what the outcome was going to be for me. You're like, Tom, this sucks, but appreciate you reaching out and listen. But the thing is, negativity is contagious in the world, so why can't positivity be contagious? So we spread this
Exactly.
good news. We spread this good news to each other. We look after each other. And I was in town, so I was like, "Yo, can I come to the hospital? Can I come see you?" And you're like, "I'll be ready to see you in person next week." And then we did. We met up and we got a nice coffee and we got deep, man. We got really. I mean, the intellect in the conversation was so strong and so stimulating that I mean, I really have only had conversations like that with 6 or 7 people in my whole life. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I instantly felt like there was a bond, and I wanted to write music with you. And I'm embarrassed to say, Tom, that I didn't realize quite what a legend you were. I'm not kissing butt here, but I'm just saying that he was such a great guy. And then I realized, wow, Tom has rubbed elbows with a lot of people, and he's got this catalog of music, and he's done this and that. He's got this music out, and one day I put on the song. It was when I first got to know you. You Can Move Mountains. Watched the video and just sat there with tears streaming down my face because it was so freaking beautiful. It was just the most beautiful thing. And there you were, just being Tom, in the first parts of it, and just doing you, man, all Tom. And it was this guy is passion, and it reminded me of some of the passion. You don't sound anything like him. You have your own style, but I've only seen that kind of sincerity out of folks like Joe Strummer, and just that love of the people that he is making music for. And I know that, like any other artist, I go through depressions. I have been through depression.
Big time.
I've had substance abuse in my past with alcohol, which luckily I'm not in the grips of that. Not saying I'm an angel, but I don't drink alcohol. And if we don't create and help each other, lift each other up, give each other sound blurbs to put up, that's makes the difference, I think. And don't ever tear somebody. Don't ever tear somebody down. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say nothing. Just shut up.
Unbelievable. I mean, these things that you're saying are priceless. And the Joe Strummer comparison, oh my goodness, I'll sell you $40 after this. Thank you.
And Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah, but the thing
you were
is,
actually, I never thought of that, but you're right. Yeah.
But the thing is, you pick your heroes, what we call them your influences. But you guys are heroes and influences to me now, And to me, it's all about being like a do-gooder and spreading it. And I appreciate, dude, my brother, so much your honesty about just now talking about substances, because I remember we went out and I was having a few drinks, and I certainly don't drink the way I used to either, because I'd be dead, But I was having some drinks, and you said you don't drink, and I was like, okay, well, I already had some. Is it okay if I have a drink? We went to a friend of mine's bar, a friend of mine's bar, Brian Collins, and I was like, would it offend you if I had a drink? You said no, but I wasn't going to have too many. But the thing is I appreciate you're being honest about that, because there's been times in my life that I haven't been, I heard someone once said to me, and I think I repeated this to Renee once. Someone once said to me, this is a long time ago, they go, "It's okay if you lie to me, man. That's cool. Just don't lie to yourself." And that is that speaks volumes. So it's like, that's really cool that you let us know that you've had problems with substances in the past, whether it's certain drinks or certain other things, But the fact that you're
still struggling with these cigarette things.
Those are the toughest ones. Those are the toughest.
You admit it to us, but also yourself. And that is ginormous, man. And it's like, because now you're making it that I know you well enough that if you could reach out to me if you're in a situation, and I'm going to try to be there for you and give you good advice.
I know that absolutely, Tom, and you have been there for me before. And let me be clear about one thing. I don't mind. I like going to bars. I have nothing against people drinking around me, because 99.9% of the people that drink don't have a problem. Right. I like it when people get loose and have a good time. And a lot of times I like to just designate be the DD and that's cool. But I still go out and I have a great time, and people have a good time. And I'm not saying I'm an angel either, so maybe I have my fun, but that might be different. But
I love it so much.
I hate judgmental people who quit drinking and they think everybody shouldn't drink. Everybody's an alcoholic. No, they're not. Only one person can know that, and that's that person. But
it
gets old.
And that's a really good point as well. I mean, you really you're dropping some Renee-like knowledge on us this evening, because everyone should be. Yes, it's fine to look after your mates and your brothers and your sisters, but there's a difference between that and being like standing on this pedestal and being self-righteous.
Yeah. We all struggle with something, right?
I never
Exactly.
want to be that. I never want to be that. And the other thing is people talk about knowing their strengths. Well, how about knowing your weaknesses? So you're like, listen, I'm good. I can hang out at bars. I could do this. I could do that. Maybe once a month I'll even sip on a glass of wine, whatever. But I know I don't want to do any of this other stuff. But I can hang out with my friends. I could produce a show. I could video a show. I could be around people doing this. It's really it's my hats off to you always, because you impressed the hell out of me. But even more right now.
I'm blushing. I'm blushing.
Tom is a legend, I would say. Everybody knows Tom.
Absolutely.
Tom is an absolute legend. Was it Henry Owens, Tom, who said he would take a bullet for you, to Jefferson Holt? Yeah, Jefferson Holt, the manager of REM, the one who made REM, he shaped our whole culture. Think of Rock the Vote, MTV.
Yeah.
I was talking to Jefferson Holt back when we had Henry Owens on, and I said, we're going to have Henry on. And he said, well, I work with Henry with the record label. And he called up, that's the type of guy, that's the type of manager Jefferson is. He just gets on he knows everyone. And he called up Henry and he said, tell me about this show you're doing with Renee and Tom. And Henry said, I would take a bullet for Tom Cheshire. He said, Tom Cheshire. And then Jefferson said to me, man, like everybody loves Tom Cheshire. I said, because he's a legend. He's a legend.
Shout out to Henry, since we've had him on the show. I think
we love Henry.
He's put out 4 books since. I think he has his flyers on display at University of Georgia in Athens, and he just I think he did something at the Plaza in which is right on Ponce de Leon, with some film. He's presenting films now. He's just always, he's one of those guys who liked the both of you. And what I try to do is he hustles and stays busy. And I love
very
that.
prolific.
I love that.
He's amazing. Yeah, he's like a huge thing. But everybody that Tom meets is so struck by him and loyal to him. Jesse Seipel just said, I'd take a bullet for Tom, just not in the chest. But anyway, that's funny. But everybody has said that I would take a bullet for Tom. We'll all take bullets for Tom, because Tom is
we'll take bullets for each other.
Has anybody ever...
I'm sorry, go on.
I was going to say, has anybody ever met anybody that said Tom Cheshire's a weenie? Because I haven't. Ever.
Never. No, that's
I just don't think that exists.
And it's weird because no matter who you are, I don't care who you are, there's somebody who doesn't like you. So I'm like, why is it that Tom is the one person that nobody doesn't like?
Trust me. Listen, this show is about being positive, but I could right now name 2 or 3 people that don't like me. But it's not worth it.
Okay.
And by the way, I love them, and nothing but love to them. And I hope down the road they like me.
That's right.
But the thing is you guys, this is so beautiful. Everything. I'm not kidding around. What we like to do in the show is exactly this, but also manifest ideas. And let me tell you something. A documentary about all of this beautiful stuff that came out because of the pandemic is a fantastic idea.
Really good idea.
And I know there are so many interesting characters. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, well, first of all, Lars I knew for years, but we reconnected. Renee, my sister, and I, we meet, and now it's like we've known each other for 30 years. Lars is on screen doing something with, shout out to the GOAT, the OG, Dennis Tardon, and Renee Jaworski. And he goes, who's this crazy guy on the top screen? And it's Rory. And the guy goes, I'm a comedian. Awesome joke.
Rory Finland,
I mean, Rory, Sandy.
Man of 1,000 voices.
Sandy D, Jamie Bennett, of course, Troy, Johnny Thompson. And then Julio Morales and Gregory L. Gannon doing the Lord's work on SDF with the Drunkles. And it's like, wait a minute, this thing is now, look at me, this is a movement.
It's a movement. It's grassroots.
And it's so funny because Ben Thrower, my brother, who's played with me in so many of my bands and worked with me for years, and I just love and adore him. I remember him chatting with me, and him and his wife went to like some party or something as things were opening up. And he's like, "Oh yeah, so and so's like, who the heck are these freaks that Tom's hanging out with?" Yeah, and Ben was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Well, he looks like he's got a lot more fans, during the pandemic." And Ben's like, "Yeah, it has nothing to do with Western Motel or All Night Drunk Prowling Wolves or the Kid Blue Mountain song. He's like, it literally is through these awesome, proper weirdos that he met online during the pandemic, sharing the same thing and sharing problems and sharing songs and sharing conversation and art and virtual hugs with each other."
Yeah, Ro Evans is another one I got to mention.
And D says, don't forget Daniel Gay. Of course, Daniel.
Of course, Daniel Gay. He wrote that song.
And Sylvia.
You'll know my gun. You'll know my gun. And I cried. Genius, just a genius.
Every time we're on here, I have these lists of people I want to shout
out. Yeah, me too.
We always forget, and I try to shout at everyone. But, it's like
Daniel holds every note in his mouth when he plays. Have you ever noticed that? He's got every note, and his lip is what dictates the note. And he's like rocking some klezmer music, on the accordion. It's like
and Vic Burgess. Oh my goodness. CJ Peters, Diane Marie. I mean, Daniel.
Jeff Evans.
My gosh, yes.
I was a fan of Jeff before. I knew Jeff before the pandemic. I used to hang out with him, and he is another person. He's kind of like Atlanta's CJ Peters. He's next level. He's bigger than life. He's a beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful cartoon character that's come to life. And he's just all love, caring, and thoughtfulness.
I got to tell you a Jeff Evans story. I live at a place called Railroad Earth, and we had a show Saturday.
Yeah,
and it was Ted Pettis, CJ in the Spirit Bones, and solo sets by solo sets by Jeff Evans, and Sylvia was up there and played, and Pete Midnight from Delta 8 played, and I was doing sound, and one of our helpers didn't show up, so I pretty much did the whole setup, and it rained. It rained right at sound check, and I had to haul everything and pull it back out. It ended up being a magical evening, but Jeff was about to go on with this arch top, and he has a beautiful new guitar. And I was on the side of the stage, and there was light behind him, and I got about 50 shots of him because his head was covering the light, and then a little bit would be revealed, and he looked like some kind of rock and roll angel kind of guy. It was the wildest. So I sent him the pictures. And he was like, "Man, those pictures were great." I saw him the next day at a Delta 8 gig, and he was fantastic that night. And I kind of felt like he was riffing on Robbie Robertson, who had just died, because he was playing this stuff. And I mentioned to him, I was like, "No, man, I was just playing what I felt." And I said, "Well, it was a beautiful thing, but it was a great show." And Jeff is a musician who it's all feel. It's all just coming.
Oh my goodness, absolutely a huge fan of his.
And Mudcat too. Remember Mudcat?
Oh my goodness. Daniel Mudcat I knew in the 90s, and we reconnected.
Oh wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go see him play when I first moved to Atlanta at the Northside Tavern with friends, and since then we've
cooked pizza with him. Yeah.
I
worked with Daniel.
Amazing. What a good person. The thing is it's the other thing that we like to do in the show is count our blessings and realize how lucky we are. And even when things are bad, we know there are so many that have it worse. And I'm just going to be grateful for all the wonderful things we have. The two of you, the people that we mentioned, this conversation has just been gorgeous art in itself, everything about it, because it's inspirational.
It is, and thank you all so much. I feel like I have to mention Bill Taft in this conversation.
Oh, I wanted to mention him this whole time. Yes,
I met Bill when I was 18 and living right here. Bill was playing at the Dugout. He was playing in a blues band, Dr. Dixon and the Operators. And then he formed his own band, the Crawling King Snakes, and he was standing on tables playing the guitar.
He's so amazing.
Just amazing musician. And then to watch all the changes he went through in terms of, took it all the way to this like primitive art thing with,
waiting for UFOs now, but he was an open
smoke. And no, before that, the Chowder Shouters, and
Oh, the Chowder
they,
Shouters. Yeah, rest
they
in
were
peace.
anti-commercial,
Yeah,
and
they were
I
anti-commercial,
remember.
yet every labels wanted them because they were that good, you know.
Well, yeah, I remember my band was playing at Live REK, and as soon as we finished, Chowder Shouters were next, and the first song I heard them getting up was "What If Mary Had an Abortion." And it was just like, wow, those guys are so gutsy. And one guy was beating on a stop sign with a stick. And then the Jody grind and that tragedy, but Bill challenges himself with everything he does, and he's so respected as a musician. He's so gifted that he could just
He really
sit on his
is.
laurels and do nothing. But he's not. He's
No.
got Aileen singing with "Waiting for UFOs" now. It's a whole different dimension.
I
He
love
just is always
Aileen.
adding.
And she's doing
He's taking
great
chances.
things
Yeah.
too. She's
She
doing
is.
great things as well. She's doing drop off stops for people to volunteer and drop off books and give books to people.
Wow.
She's such an amazing artist and human, and what a unique voice. I've performed with her before, and I'm just a big fan of hers. But yeah, Bill and Brian and everyone in Waiting for UFOs. Bill has been, like I mentioned about you earlier, I met him luckily in the late 90s and was unbelievably generous to me with his talent. He asked me to help him co-host and do a thing called the Night of the Garbage Man, and it was about books. And basically, people would find objects in the garbage and turn them into poetry, and we would read from a bag of chips or the back of a pizza box. And it was a really, really instrumental time in me becoming this next thing, which was certainly me looking at guys like, Bill Burroughs and Bukowski and Tom Waits and certainly Joe Strummer, and trying to find this voice of mine and turn it into song and stories, and he was tremendous in helping me find that or have the balls to take the risk and go for it. You know what I mean?
I've seen Waiting for UFOs play a couple times on this back lawn where I literally thought the aliens were going to land a spaceship because it was so magical.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Everybody in the audience was feeling the same too.
They are my favorite, probably my favorite Atlanta band right now. Got to share the stage with them on St. Patrick's Day, and and someone said it best. Oh well, my man Will Lawless, who runs the iDrum, another an artist, and very very generous giver of his time. And Will Lawless started saying to me, he's like, yeah, I'm like, Bill's magical what he's doing, Waiting for UFOs, and he's like, yeah, I like to look at him as our town's David Byrne. And I was like,
oh yeah, absolutely,
I never even thought about him like that, So, so lovely. And I'm not kidding. I really, really might want to do one interview with you and Renee and really hear about the shows that you saw at like 688 in the Metroplex back in the day, because that sounds amazing, And
it was wild.
I just love. I listen. Monday nights. This is the place to be. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Again, the show is growing, and I love having Renee on it with me. It's
you guys are a great team.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee, for doing this. Thank you for being on. Every guest we've had, we've ended it with saying we got to have you on again. So the cool thing is, I guess we're going to stay in business and we're going to be doing the show for a while, because we really got to have repeat guests and get back into it and reopen these, floodgates of these gorgeous, gorgeous, wicked stories,
And Sandy
I'm not going to be making any plans on Mondays. I'm going to be watching with my eyes.
I mentioned Sandy D. I'm such a huge fan of Sandy D.
Sandy D said this is her favorite episode, Burn It Down. That's what she just said.
Love Sandy D. Sandy D, you look beautiful and sounded beautiful singing the other day. I got to catch
glamorous.
A good few songs. The other thing is this, and I want to, I'll end on this, or well, no, Renee, you can end on any way you want, but they say it takes teamwork to make a dream work. I like to say with teamwork it doesn't seem work.
It doesn't.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's that easy.
True.
And just being guests and having these conversations and being friends, it doesn't seem work. It's so easy. And it's really been a group of people. We love to say that love expands. It's been a group of people that really do, I think, genuinely feel blessed and are looking after each other.
Absolutely, Tom. Beautifully said. That's lovely. Yeah.
I'm super excited. I'm going to be in Atlanta for about 30 hours in a couple of weeks. Sunday, August 27th, TCB headlining Ponce Fest. On Ponce de Leon, probably the last show at MJQ Drunken Unicorn. Jeremy's going to be shooting a live video. Please come out and on the stage and be in the video. I want to shout out my friend Rick. I know him and his family are going to be there. Rick Ehrman, Cassie, James, 3 of the 1s and 2s. I don't know, John Phipps, Sylvia, Jeff Evans, Lars Nagel. Listen, love expands, and life is awesome if you let it. And I know we love quotes on this show. And Renee, you know that besides the people you mentioned, another one of my biggest heroes is the man Charles Chaplin. And I love, for a guy who was known in the beginning part of his career of doing silent films, he had so many great quotes, you know, but one of his quotes were, everything in life is temporary, including our problems.
Yeah, that's right.
He was dead right. Yep.
It's true. Just hang on. Just keep hanging on. If it sucks right now, just keep going. It won't suck forever. It can't.
That's right.
Life always goes up and down, you know?
That's right. And the thing is it's like, if we quit something we're doing, well, no matter what, we're never going to see it through. Right. But at least if we continue going, maybe we will see it through and something great will happen. Like this show. This show is only getting better and better. I love it.
It is. It's incredible.
Oh, man. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a movement. It's more than a show. I feel like it's a movement, Tom. You sparked a fire of saving people's lives and connecting people to other people. That's what it's all about, you know, and encouraging people to have a positive mental attitude.
I couldn't have done it without you, and it's all of us. It's these think tanks.
It's a synergy.
Us bouncing ideas off of each other. I'm high as hell off life right now, and like Joe Strummer said, the future is unwritten. So everyone have a beautiful night, and we'll see you next Monday. And Jeremy Glass, you rule, my brother.
Oh, you do too. Thank you, Renee, and thank you, Tom. Y'all are great, and thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy
that
you did. And I love this show, and I'm going to be watching this show. And Renee, I've watched some shows that you've done in the past year that were incredible. Some talks. You had one show that focused on the lack of female leadership in Hollywood.
Yep.
It was an incredible show.
Thank you for watching. We'll have you on another show too at Cosmos. We'll have you on another show. We'll book you for something else. We'll talk about your writing and all your multifaceted work, sculpture, all kinds of stuff that you do. I got to hear it all. We're going to hear all of Jeremy's stories. We're gonna hear it.
I want to hear your stories too.
All right. Let's do it. Let's book it. Book it, Dano. Let's do it.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Have a great night.